You didn't just lose the relationship, you lost something more important: your ability to trust yourself. You've started second guessing your gut, questioning your own memory, wondering if you were too much or not enough. That is not a coincidence. That is what prolonged exposure to manipulation does to your nervous system. Here's the thing that nobody tells you: building your self trust is not about finding the right person next time. It is about becoming someone who trusts her perception again. And in the next 14 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that using neuroscience, behavioral psychology, and the exact process I walked myself through. So, if you ever caught yourself thinking, how did I not see the signs? This video is for you. Most people think that self-trust breaks because you have chose wrong. But that's not what the science says. Self-trust breaks because of certain processes that happens in that toxic relationship and that are designed to break your self-trust. When someone consistently contradicts your reality, tells you that you are too sensitive, that you imagine things, that your feelings are wrong, your brain starts to override its own signals. And that is called cognitive dissonance under social pressure. So basically, cognitive dissonance is a discomfort that happens in your brain when the reality and what is said don't match. And in that case, your brain doesn't like the discomfort. Your brain doesn't like the tension. So it tries to change something to make the reality and what's said match. So your brain chooses to believe what he's saying just because it doesn't want to go through that discomfort. And over time, you stop listening to yourself because you were trained not to. So the question is not why couldn't I trust myself, but who taught me not to. This matters because the path back to self trust is not willpower, it is reprogramming. And once you understand that your self doubt is not a character flaw but a learned response, you can start to unlearn it. Congratulations! This shift alone put you ahead of many people who continue to blame themselves forever. Self trust doesn't break in one place, it breaks in three different layers. And most healing advice only addresses one of them. And that is why most women feel better for someone and then fall back into the same pattern with someone new. Same character, same pain, just different body, different name. So here are the three layers. Layer 1: perceptual trust, trusting what you see and feel in real time. Layer 2: judgment trust, trusting the decisions you make about people and situations. And layer 3: identity trust, trusting that who you are is enough and that your needs are valid. When a toxic relationships run for long, it chips away at all three layers. And what's dangerous is that most women only learn to work on layer 1. They learn to spot red flags. But if layer 2 and 3 are still broken, you will spot the red flags and you will stay anyway. Knowing which layer is the most damaged in you is the way to start. And here's a quick way to know. If you keep asking yourself, did this really just happen? That means that is layer 1. If you keep asking, why do I always choose wrong? It is layer 2. And if you keep thinking, maybe I'm too much, maybe I'm not enough, that is layer 3. Most women in their 30s after a toxic relationship, they are carrying damage in all three layers. But there is usually a layer that is the loudest, and that is where we should start. Now that you know what broke and where, let's talk about actually how to rebuild. Not affirmations, not just love yourself more advice, but the real steps that actually rebuild your self trust in all three layers. Here's what most healing content gets wrong: they tell you to trust yourself more, but you cannot just trust something that have proven to be giving you bad results. Your brain doesn't work that way. Trust is built through evidence. And after a toxic relationship, your evidence bank is full with data that says your judgment is wrong. So you have to make deposits, small ones, consistently until the account balance changes. And this is the framework I call the evidence protocol. Three practices that rebuild each layer of self trust. For layer one, which is the perceptual layer, you are going to start a daily reality log. Every day you're going to write one thing. Maybe something you noticed, an interaction, a feeling, a moment where something felt off or felt right. Don't analyze it, just record. So here you are training your brain to trust its own observations again. For the layer two, which is the judgment. Here you are going to make a low stake decisions and follow through on them. No big life choices, just small ones. Something like I'm going to sleep by 10 p.m. tomorrow, or something like I am going to eat a salad tomorrow, or something like I'm going to walk for 10 minutes today, and then do it. Every promise you keep to yourself is a deposit into your judgment account. In behavioral psychology, that is called building your self efficacy. So, self efficacy in simple words means that you trust yourself to do something when you say you're going to do it. And that comes from keeping promises to yourself. That whenever you said you're going to do something, you did it, no matter how small it is. The more you stack those promises that are kept, the more you believe in yourself that you are going to do whatever you said you will. Then we move to layer three, which is the identity. Now, this one is the deepest. And here's what we're going to do. I want you to identify one need that you have been minimizing, something that you have told yourself that you're too much, that's not important. Let's say, for example, consistency in relationships. Write it down and then ask yourself, would I tell my best friend that this is too much to ask for or not? If the answer is no, then you have your answer. Your needs were not the problem. The problem was the relationship that taught you that your needs were too much. Now you have the framework. But before you apply it, I need to tell you about the trap that derails most women, even the ones that do everything right. They rebuild their self trust in isolation and then they test it immediately in a new relationship with someone new before the work is done. And here's why that's dangerous. Not because the relationship is bad, but because your unhealed nervous system will seek familiarity. And familiarity after a toxic relationship means another toxic one. It will feel like chemistry. It will feel like finally I have found my person. But what's actually happening is that your nervous system is recognizing a pattern that it already knows. Behavioral science calls this the trauma bonding repetition, which is when someone keeps getting pulled into the same unhealthy emotional dynamics, often in relationships, just because they are familiar. And that is because the brain has associated love with pain, with inconsistency, with emotional highs and lows. So when it recognizes that, it says, that's love. So the rule I give women I work with is before you decide to meet someone new, you need to be able to answer yes to this question. Do I trust my no? Not your yes, your no. Because a woman who trusts her no doesn't need to over explain. She doesn't overstay. And most importantly, she doesn't overgive to keep someone. She just leaves, and that is the version of you we are building. Let me be completely honest with you. You will know when you're ready when saying no doesn't feel like a risk to your worth. I want to paint you a picture because healing can feel abstract. And when you don't know what you are moving toward, it is hard to stay on the path. Most women think that self trust means never doubting yourself again. That's not it. Doubt never disappears, but what changes is your relationship with it. Before, doubt paralyzes you. You spiral, you ask everyone around you what they think. You override your gut because you don't trust it. After, doubt is just information. You feel it, you examine it, and then you decide based on your own evidence, based on your own values, based on your read on the situation. And here's what self trust looks like in real life. You meet someone new, something feels slightly off. You don't give three more chances to prove you're wrong. You just trust the signal. You meet someone who's great on paper, but when he walks into the room, your body tightens. You listen to that. You stop mid conversation and you walk away. That is not paranoia. That is your nervous system working the way that it was always supposed to. You had to rebuild it, and you did. Those small deposits, that is what a full account looks like. So the truth is, you didn't lose yourself. You learned to disappear to survive. And now you are learning to come back on your own terms, with your own evidence, trusting your read on the situations. That's not small, that is everything. Now, we talked about building trust in yourself, but here's what comes next. And most women skip it entirely, which is learning to spot the specific patterns that broke it in the first place before they show up again in someone new. Because rebuilding your self trust without learning how to spot the patterns is like rebuilding a house on the same fault line. So watch this video here to learn 6 strategies that men can use against you to break your self-trust. See you there.